Hello, everybody, and welcome back finally to a new episode of Hoops and Helmets. The last time we were here, or actually, last time Aaron was here, was, I believe, a draft. And Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, the last time I was on and we were both on was the NFL draft. Is that correct?
I think you might be right with that actually, Carson. It's been a hot minute, and I honestly forgot that you weren't on the NBA draft show.
I tried to stay in touch, but it has been a hot minute. But we're glad we finally got the gang back together, and we're glad to be back. Aaron, I say let's just go ahead and get this started off. We've been gone for so long, and the people want to hear some football. So obviously, college football is starting this weekend. Hallelujah! It's the one of the best times of the year, and we're starting it up with a pretty great matchup in Texas and Ohio State. This is going to feature two very good quarterbacks. Um, Aaron, who do you think is going to win this game?
Carson, that's a really tough question. Podcast Smitty in the comments appreciate you watching. Shannon, um, I'm trying to not be biased, but I mean, first we got to talk about the insane amount of turnover that both of these teams have had. Ohio State.
Mhm.
I mean, let me find. I had a yeah, there it is. Let's just go over some of the guys that they had drafted this year. Emeka Egbuka, phenomenal wide receiver. Donovan Jackson, starting offensive lineman. Josh Simmons, starting offensive lineman. Then they had Seth McLaughlin go undrafted, signed with the team. He is another starting offensive lineman. So there's three of your five starters who are gone. And I mean, I don't want to stay here and just list off all the names because that would be a solid 10 minutes for just both of the teams. But key starters
Aaron,
on offense
I think
and
either
defense
I
that
think Aaron is
repossession
frozen
proof.
or I am frozen, but I can just go ahead and give my. Oh, never mind. It looks like Aaron is back. Please
Am I
continue.
back? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Minor technical difficulties. Apologies on that again. It's been a while since we've both been on.
You
But
know, we're getting back in the swing of things. We're figuring it out.
exactly. But I was just saying both of these teams have lost key starters on all sides of the ball. I think the most notable thing is Ohio State losing their two star running backs in Quinshon Judkins
Hmm.
and Travion Henderson. That is going to be a massive blow to how they're able to operate their offense. Last year, they were able to mix it up. They could run smash mouth football, or they could air it out to Egbuka, Carnell Tate, who's still there, Jeremiah Smith, best receiver in college football. Looks like we might have lost Carson there, but that's fine. And Texas, they had an insane amount of guys get drafted too. Kelvin Banks, top 10 draft pick. That's a star offensive lineman that Arch Manning would really like to have. Jade Bear and Matthew Golden, Andrew
Hmm.
Makuba, Gunnar Helm, Jadon Blue. I mean, these are two teams who have just insane levels of roster turnover. But the counterpoint to that, these are two blue blood programs that will be able to replace that talent to some degree.
Hmm.
Whether or not they'll look the same, time will be told. But Julian Sayin, the heir to Will Howard, he's got big shoes to fill after Howard led the Buckeyes to a national championship. But he was a fairly highly touted prospect. He has insane weapons to throw to. Max Clare, transfer tight end from Purdue, is a name that gets lost in that mix because of guys like Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, who are just
Hmm.
absolute dogs. And then Texas is a good team as well. I mean, I'm interested to see how Arch Manning's going to do as a full time starter. I'm a little surprised that he stuck around at Texas when Quinn Ewers was just the entrenched starter there. So big props to him for having that kind of loyalty, which just isn't really something that we see in college football nowadays. But Quintravion Wisner, he's a running back. He was at Ohio State last year, but obviously in that crowded running back room, you're not going to
Hmm.
get a whole lot of snaps when you have two NFL draft picks ahead of you. Ryan Wingo, phenomenal wide receiver. CJ Baxter, a very good running back as well. Carson, if I had to pick a team, I'm honestly thinking Ohio State. I think defensively they just had a really good thing going last year. Yes, they had a lot of turnover, but I don't know if it's just the fact that I've been living in Ohio and that's starting to get to me a little bit, but I mean, I'll back the Buckeyes. Yes, we've seen more of Arch than we've seen of Sayin. I think I like what Julian Sayin has around him more than what Arch Manning has around him at Texas. Carson, this is going to be a fantastic game. I'm probably going to be at work
Hmm.
when it's happening, though. A little bummed out about that, but should be a good game. I'm I'd probably have to give it to the Buckeyes though, and that makes me want to throw up a little bit.
Well, Aaron, maybe this will make you feel a little less sick because I am going to take Texas in this game, actually. I think you hit on basically anything, on basically everything. Roster turnover has just been the theme for these two teams. There are a couple differences that I will shout out, though. One, Ohio State has two new coordinators. Um, and the other thing is Texas got their quarterback back. So I think that there is just a little more continuity um, in Texas that Ohio State just was not fortunate enough to have, and I really think that's going to do it. You also have to remember Ohio State just won the national championship, and this can be negated a little bit with so much roster turnover, but a lot of the times there just comes like a hangover period, where a team wins a national championship. You see this even more um, in NBA and NFL, where rosters are a little more continuous. When a team wins it all, it can kind of be hard sometimes to find the motivation to get out there and give it everything you got. Now, I will say, two new coordinators, new QB. They still have Jeremiah Smith, who is, I mean, for my money, the best wide receiver in in college football. But I do think that because Texas just has a little more continuity, I think that will be enough, especially week one. Give these guys 5, 6, 7 weeks, and maybe they get it together a little more and they'll learn the schemes and everything. But week one, I am more willing to bank on that continuity. So I'm going to go ahead and take Texas. Um, One thing that this game really has is great quarterback play. You have Arch Manning for Texas, and then for Ohio State, you have Julian Sayin, and he is one of the premier quarterbacks of the NFL. So, Aaron, I want you to give me your expectations on one Julian Sayin, and then compare him to a Bryce Underwood, who I think is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation.
Well, Carson, I hope you're right on Bryce Underwood being one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. I think Sayin definitely has more pressure on him going into this season purely because of what Ohio State was able to do last year. And the pressure that's on Bryce Underwood is to get Michigan back into a playoff push. They didn't have a great season last year. Yes, they still beat Ohio State. Yes, they beat Alabama in a bowl game. So that was a great 2 game stretch to end a season that was otherwise incredibly disappointing after coming off of a national championship win. I don't I expect both to be good. Um Bryce Underwood's going to have to flash a lot with his legs because Michigan doesn't have the greatest wide receivers. I think and Sharon Moore has a really good offense for a quarterback who's going to be able to run like
Mhm.
him. Michigan hasn't had a quarterback like that ever. I mean, just an athletic freak. He's got a cannon of an arm. Super, super excited to watch him. Saying he's not immobile, but I mean, comparing any prospect to Underwood in terms of mobility, they're
Right.
not going to look mobile, but Sayin can get
Hmm.
it done with his legs if he needs to. He's also a very, very good passer. Everyone I've talked to who follows Ohio State and they're recruiting very closely, they have only had phenomenal things to say about Julian Sayin. I think if Michigan doesn't look really, really good, it's going to feel disappointing. And I'd be worried about Underwood hitting the portal because I don't know if he's going to stick
Hmm.
around for any type of quote unquote rebuild. Obviously, Michigan didn't really get hit with sanctions too bad from their cheating scandal, which is, I'm not surprised, honestly. I wasn't expecting NCAA to bring down the hammer on them. Let's be
Yeah, of
real here.
course.
It was never going to happen. Should it have? Probably. Was it really bad? Yeah. But I think year one for both of them, Sayin does better because of just what he has around him. I think Underwood will look
Mm.
good, but I mean, Michigan's another team that had some turnover as well. Their offensive line last year didn't look as good as it has. They've got some good recruits in, but they've also had, I can't remember the guy's name right now, but he was a highly ranked offensive line recruit, got hurt, and he's out for the season. Apologies for forgetting that, but these are two great guys. I think Sayin's going to have a better year one, maybe year two. Underwood could be better, but Sayin is still going to have Jeremiah Smith to throw the ball to, and I think you'll look pretty good as long as you got that guy to throw to.
Very, very true. And I have to applaud you for being unbiased. It would have been so easy to say Bryce Underwood,
Yeah, it,
and
it really would have. I
it
just
would have been. It
the
was right
weapons
there for you. But I think I agree with you. This is a super interesting conversation when you get into when we're just talking about this year. Because if we're talking about as prospects or if we're talking about their long term projection, it's pretty clearly Bryce Underwood, right? He's got all the physical tools. I mean, especially compared to Julian Sayin, who's kind of just neutral, I feel like, when it comes to physical tools. Meanwhile, Bryce Underwood is just a monster. He's got great size. He's 6'2", I believe. He's got really good speed. He's got a ginormous arm, insane arm power. And I also like the way he manipulates the pocket and keeps his eyes downfield. That just comes with mobility. You know that what exactly what you said. Any quarterback, if you compare him to Bryce Young, he's going to look slow. He's going to look like a snail because Bryce Underwood is just kind of a freak when it comes to his dual threat ability. And that, in my opinion, has kind of been one of the things that I've been looking out for more than I used to. Was just how good are you at negating pressure and negating sacks? And Bryce Underwood is pretty amazing at that. And he's only going to get better as he matures into his body and just as a football mind. I do wish he would speed up his release time. That's like the one thing about his throwing mechanics that I haven't liked. He kind of throws um slowly, at least to Julian Sayin, who has a very fast release time. But I mean, as a project, Bryce Underwood is the best in the nation probably. Uh,
and
Julian,
I wouldn't even say it's necessarily that big of a project either because I do think he's going to be
Drew,
very, very good out of the gate. I really do think it boils down to the weapons and the offensive line that Sayin
yeah,
has on that Buckeyes offense. And that's not to say that Michigan has a bad line or bad weapons when you're comparing it to the best wide receiver in college football, a phenomenal tight end. And I mean, Carnell Tate's just a name that doesn't get talked about a lot. He's really, really good. But when you have a superstar phenom like Jeremiah Smith,
yeah.
when you have the school leader in receptions in Emeka Egbuka there, you just get lost in the shuffle. But I think we do need to still keep Carnell Tate in mind, and he's going to be a really big part of that Buckeyes offense this season as well.
I think you're exactly right. And for this question, I wrote down all the things I just said about Bryce Underwood. Has great size, has great speed, has great arm power. I wrote down all the things. For Julian Sayin, I wrote down has Jeremiah Smith, and that could truly be the difference. That could seriously be it. Jeremiah Smith is one of those talents. Um, I'm super high on him. Aaron, do you want to move on, or is there anything else you want to say about this?
I feel like we've said everything that needs to be said. Honestly,
Yeah,
it'll be super interesting to watch how these two quarterbacks do this season.
I'm with you. Let's move on to maybe the best game of opening weekend: LSU and Clemson. This is a battle of two potential first round QBs. And there's just a lot of storylines here. Aaron, let's just go ahead and start with the big question. Does LSU come out on top, or is Clemson in position to make another playoff push?
You know, I think Clemson is in position to do that purely because of how weak the ACC is. As far as this game goes, I really like what LSU did in the portal at wide receiver. You got Barry Brown, wide
Mhm.
receiver from Kentucky, who is incredibly explosive, and you got Nick Anderson in from Oklahoma. He missed most of 2024 with an injury, but he was just a big play machine in 2023. And
Mhm.
but Clemson's got a really scary defense, Carson.
Oh
Defensive
my!
line. You have TJ Parker and Peter Woods. Those are two potential first round draft picks. Linebacker core, Wade Woodaz, he's phenomenal. And secondary as well. They've got a really good defense. Yes, it felt like they almost lucked out last season. Barely won the ACC championship, snuck
Mhm.
in the playoff at the 12 seed. Also, LSU, they didn't have the best season either. They were 5-3 in SEC play, 9-4 overall. They did end the year with a bowl win over Baylor. So props to them. Clemson first round exit against Texas. I think I'm gonna pick the underdog here because part of me does want to believe in Garrett Nussmeier and what he's able to do. And he's also got really, really good weapons to throw to.
Mhm.
And but I mean, Clemson's still good, and it's hard to pick against him. Close game. I like the underdog in this, just purely because I think that LSU offense is going to look super, super
Wow.
explosive with Barry and Brown and Nick Anderson out there now.
I love the underdog pick, Aaron. This is also fun because normally we don't really disagree, and today I guess we do because I'm going to pick Clemson. In
Okay.
my opinion, Clemson has the better QB. I know this is one of the best QB battles in the nation. Klubnik isn't really elite at anything, but he's really good or great at just everything. Good accuracy, good mobility, good arm power. He's just good at everything. And last year he had an amazing year. 36 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. You can compare that to Nussmeier's 29 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. And Klubnik also had a marginally better completion percentage. It was, I think it's literally 1%. So that doesn't really matter that much. But I do think Klubnik is barely the better QB at this stage. Newsmeyer also has a tendency to just kind of make boneheaded decisions, and I think with this Clemson D line, they could get some pressure on him, and I could see him making a couple boneheaded decisions, maybe throwing a couple interceptions in this first game. I also do think Clemson has the better wide receiver core. I know you just talked about LSU's, and we may just differ on this. I think Brian Wesco Jr. is a top 5 to top 8 receiver in the country. TJ Moore is amazing. He was fourth last year among all true freshmen in receiving yards. And Antonio Williams had 11 TDs last year, and I think he's probably going to be a first round pick in the future. So I think Clemson has the marginally better wide receiver core, and then they have the much better defense. And I also think they have the better coach. And they're at home. So I really do love the underdog pick here. And I will say LSU is fighting for something right now. Brian Kelly, in particular, is fighting for something right now. Aaron, do you think Brian Kelly needs to make a playoff push this year to keep his job?
I think he needs to make a push for sure. Whether or not he makes it, I don't think so. But they need to do better than 5-3 in conference play. That's not bad. Yes, the SEC is arguably the toughest conference to play in. So going 5-3 in that conference, that's no small matter.
Hmm.
But this is a team that does have high expectations, that had such an insane season in 2019 and has not been remotely close to that level of success since then. It's been 6 years, Carson. I feel like we've got to see some kind of momentum there, and it's just it's just not happening. It's not like they've been bad; they just haven't been good enough. I think I wouldn't say he gets fired if they go like 9-4 again, but another season where they're not contending for the playoffs, that definitely puts Kelly on a very, very hot seat going into the 2026 season.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. When I originally read this question, I thought I thought it said if he loses this game, does he get fired? And I was like, I don't think so. But if he doesn't at least make a playoff push, like you said, he doesn't have to make it, but he should be on the bubble at the very least. I think LSU has that good of a team to where they could be on the bubble of a playoff push, especially now that the field has been expanded to 12. I think that he at least needs to be on the bubble. And I want to move on. This game isn't as highly touted, of course, but there is a little bit of a storyline here. Colorado versus Virginia Tech. Colorado is officially out of the Sheuder and Hunter era. Obviously, they still have Coach Prime. And Caden Salter is going to start this game. I believe that's who you were pushing for when we were having this conversation very early in
Yeah,
preseason. Do you
months.
think that's the right move?
What was that?
Do you think that's the right move to start Caden Salter?
I mean, yeah, I do think it's the right move. I do think uh, Julian Lewis, if Salter looks like he did last season, we're going to see Lewis at some point, but it doesn't surprise me that they went this way. Salter's got the starting experience, and Lewis is fairly undersized. He's only 6 foot, 6'1", 190 pounds. That's what they list him at too. So very
Right.
well be shorter than that, as we all know. Teams actually don't list players at what their heights really are.
Nope.
But I'm not surprised that this was the move. I was hoping Julian Lewis might win it purely because I hate Liberty with a fiery passion. Uh, and Salter was there and had a great 2023 last year. Looked a little rough. I'm surprised he got a power conference team to go to a little bit, especially a team that has like supposed to have some type of momentum in Colorado. And then on the Georgia Tech side of things, sorry to jump ahead a little bit, Carson, but
No.
just rolling. Haynes King is the last of this like COVID era quarterbacks who are on their sixth, fifth year, some even in their seventh
Hmm.
year. We're seeing the end of this, and Haynes King has looked pretty good. Dual threat quarterback, obviously not the most electric passer. Last season, only a little over 2,100 yards, 14 touchdowns, only 2 picks though. On the ground, he added almost 600 yards and 11 touchdowns at a completion percentage of almost 73%. I have to say, I like that more than what Caden Salter was doing at Liberty. But
Okay.
Carson, to throw your earlier question back to you, do you think that starting Caden Salter was the right move for Colorado?
I think it probably was. And my main selling point for Caden Salter is his dual threat ability. Um, I think he is decent all around, but his dual threat ability, I think, can win you some games, and get you past third down, which is just giant. It's huge. And he's also got a lot of experience, so I don't hate the start. Like you said, Julian Sayin, or not Julian Sayin, Newman is a little undersized, and yeah, I think Salter was probably the right the right pick. I don't have too much of a horse in this race. I'm not gonna lie, but I probably would have done the same thing. I do trust Coach Prime just as a football mind. Um, I don't think he's like a top tier, like football mind in the same way that like a Ben Johnson or like Kyle Shanahan or any of those guys. But I do think that Coach Prime knows enough to at least make a correct decision. So yeah, I'm okay with Salter. Aaron, who do you think is going to win this game? It sounds like you're thinking Georgia Tech. Am I wrong?
Um, I I don't know. It is still very much up in the air for me. Again, this show came about very quickly, so I had less time than I would have hoped to, make a solid decision on this. But seeing some older comments, Jason saying Kelly's super
Ooh,
overrated. LSU cans him before the season ends.
ooh,
Okay,
that's a hot take.
that's a little bold, Jason, but I mean, hey, I wouldn't hate it happening. I'm not the biggest Brian Kelly fan either. I think he left Notre Dame in a really, really bad way. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's able to recruit as well as he is at LSU when we watched what he did at Notre Dame, just left at the drop of a hat to go to
Mhm.
LSU. Insane stuff, Carson. But honestly, if I had to pick a team, I'm gonna back Colorado, but there's concerns. These aren't two really insanely good teams. I think it's going to be a solid game because they are evenly matched.
Mhm.
Obviously, with Colorado, their offensive line has not really looked that good at any point. Jordan Seaton, he's supposed to be good. Sophomore offensive tackle from IMG Academy, but I mean, don't really know because this is going to be a new look Colorado.
Mhm.
They you don't have Travis Hunter anymore. You don't have Jimmy Horn Jr. anymore. All your receivers are gone. Ooh, okay, Shannon. I don't think there's a better college coach out there than Dabo Sweeney.
That is a take there. I'm trying to think.
What do you think about that, Carson? You think Dabo is the best college coach out there?
He's definitely a top tier one. I mean, he's just been there for so long. He's won so many championships. It's been to even more national championship games. The only thing is, Clemson and Alabama for so long just had by far the best rosters in college football. It wasn't even close. And then whenever that stopped being the trend, Clemson kind of went down the drain a little bit, and now they're back. They've got one of the best defenses in. I don't know. I don't know if he's the best. I would have to think, and I would have to go through a list of coaches and figure it out. Do you agree with that, Aaron?
Oh yeah, I do think that. I mean, Sweeney's been at Clemson for so long. They were
Yeah.
just flat out dominant there for a really, really long time.
Hmm.
Jason wondering, will Belichick be good on the college level, or is this just a gimmick ready to go bad? I do think he can be good. He seems to have done a really good job at getting players in there. I think Gio Lopez is going to be a serious problem. He was very, very good at South Alabama last year.
Hmm.
Watched a couple games because obviously App State fan, so had to
Right.
watch them play South Alabama. That was good lord, that was a pain. Fluff Bothwell. This is a little off track, but I think he is going to have a great season. He's at Mississippi State now, which is insane to go from South Alabama to Mississippi State. Huge props to him for that. But I don't think Belichick's a gimmick at UNC. It it's obviously a interesting situation to
Yeah.
put it lightly. That's not something we have time to dig into now. But Carson, what do you think about Jason's comment? Will Belichick be good, or is his college stint nothing but a gimmick?
I think he's going to be pretty good. He's Bill Belichick. I think he's probably the greatest football mind of all time, greatest NFL coach of all time. I do wonder how these college kids will respond to him. Especially, I mean, I'm a Duke fan, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. North Carolina players aren't built like that. And Bill Belichick demands a lot out of his players. So I think he's a good college coach. I don't know if he's the right fit where he's going, and that is all. That is a lot of bias. I'm not going to lie, uh, but I think he's going to be a serviceable college coach. But Aaron, let's get back to the conversation at hand. We do actually agree on this one. I think Colorado is going to win it too. That's the underdog pick. Actually, Georgia Tech is slated to win the game. They are the betting odds favorite. I don't really care about betting odds, but they are the favorite. I just think I do have a little bit of trust in Caden Salter, not too much, but I do like him a little bit. And at the end of the day, I just think Coach Prime is going to have his players ready. It's week one. I think they're going to be excited. Um, yeah, so I just think that Coach Prime is kind of the difference maker here. I know that's not really rooted in anything. This is only his second year coaching. Um, but I do think that he's going to have his players ready, and I think Colorado will win this. Aaron, you mentioned being an Appalachian State fan, as am I. We have both graduated from App State, actually, and they get to play this weekend, so that's exciting. UNC Charlotte is going to be playing App State, I believe, at App State. So
It is the Duke's Mayo Classics that they're playing at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte.
that's right. That is right. Which isn't even really that much of a home field advantage. I mean, it's App
No,
State in Charlotte, so what, 2 hours? Not even.
yeah,
Um, Aaron, obviously, we're both App State fans. We're both App State alum. Let's try to stay unbiased here. Who do you think's going to win?
I do think it's App State because UNC Charlotte just isn't very good. Yes, we don't know who's starting at quarterback for App. That has yet to be announced. I'm not too surprised. This could very easily be Coach Loggins not wanting to let Charlotte have time to prepare for whoever they're going to start. I feel like it's got to be AJ Swan. He has starting experience at the SEC
Mhm.
level. That goes a long way. Yes, it was at Vanderbilt when Vanderbilt was not very good, but still. I think it's going to be AJ Swan. And another concern with App State is that Kanye Roberts, who was the projected starting running back, is out for
Yeah.
the season. And that just sucks, Carson. You hate to see it. Roberts was really good last year. I hope he sticks around for next season and doesn't hit the portal. But App State is really deep at running back. They have a couple
Mhm.
SEC transfers, Rashad Dubignon from Arkansas and Khalifa Keith from Tennessee. So I think they're going to be all right there as far as wide receivers go. They got a good amount of guys coming back. And UNC Charlotte, they got a new head coach. I believe Tim Albin. He was at Ohio University last year, and OU had a fantastic season by their standards, won conference championship, won a bowl game, looked really, really good. But I think it's going to take more than one season to turn a program like UNC Charlotte around that has been so bad for so long. As far as the rivalry goes between the two teams, App State is 3-0 in the last three meetings, I believe, and it just hasn't really been close, honestly. And App State's coming out with a lot to prove. Last season was really, really bad by their standards. This was a team that won. Carson, how many years was it? Was it like 7 years in a row that they won bowl games? They were a
I think it
fantastic team at
is.
the FCS level. They come
Yeah,
up to FBS. They are almost as dominant as you can get for a group of five team. I believe since they joined the FBS, they are top five in total wins. If my memory holds, that is true, which is insane. And they need to get
hmm,
back to that because last year it was just
disappointing.
flat out disappointing. The defense looked flat. Joey Aguilar just didn't look like himself. He was making really, really bad decisions. And you'd see flashes of what we saw in his first year as the starter, but it just wasn't consistent. Carson, I'm back in App. I think the running back room is super deep. Quarterback, that's a bit of a concern for me, but not enough because they do have a guy in there with starting experience at the SEC level. So if it's AJ Swan, I feel really good about our chances. If it's JJ Cole, I still feel good because App State's just had a really, really solid running game, a really deep running back room for a long time
Hmm.
now. Uh, Shannon, I see your comment. We're going to save that for the end. We're going to get Carson's opinion real quick on who's going to win this game, and then we're going to jump to that because I think that's a pretty cool question.
So I did try to stay as unbiased as possible, but also keeping my App State pride. I am going to go App State. I think they are the better team. Obviously, like you said, App State starting QB has not announced. Everything I'm reading says it's going to be AJ Swan. I think that's the right decision. I am also very, very concerned about Kanye Roberts being out for the season. I think that the offense was probably going to run on him, um, just because our QB1 and our QB2 are backup QBs basically. I think they're more suited as backup QBs, but I do think AJ Swan, like you said, he has starting experience, and I think he could be good, especially under our new head coach. Um, Dow Loggins, who was responsible for South Carolina's offensive improvement, and they did have a pretty large offensive improvement. So I think that I am going to go App State. If you go back to App TV, probably 2 years ago, I think it was, um, you will see me in a couple of my App TV buddies, not named Aaron Schneider, because Aaron Schneider was also on that TV. Uh, Trashing Sean Clark. We wanted him out. Finally, he's out. I wish it would
Yeah,
have happened while I would have been there. I would have thrown a party, but it didn't. But it doesn't matter because Loggins is in there now. And so I am going to take App State. Like you said, we have a deep running back room. So as terrible as it is that Kanye Roberts is out for the season, we have guys who can step up. So I am gonna take App State, and I feel like singing the App State fight song right now. I will save all of your ears. Maybe I'll have to say that for a later episode. I am curious, Aaron, because I don't get to see the comments. So, what did? Oh, I actually do get to see the comments, but let's see what Shannon said.
how is Joey Aguilar going to do in Tennessee? And I've debated this back and forth in my head because if you look at year one with App State Joey Aguilar, you're like, yeah, this is a guy who can go play in a power conference and do a very, very good job there. You look at year two and you're like,
Hmm.
dear Lord, this guy is barely a starter for this team. It comes down to consistency. Yes, he's going to be playing with a better offensive line, better weapons all around, but he's going to be going up against SEC defenses that are going to be
True.
significantly tougher than Sunbelt defenses. I think he's going to do all right. I don't think he's going to do anything crazy. What really needs to happen is he needs to stop trying to play hero ball so
Yeah.
much. He needs to make smarter decisions. I think that's what got that App State offense in trouble a lot of times last season was he was just trying to do too much. He'd throw an interception and it would come back to bite him. But I don't want to say he's going to fail because I mean that first season was fantastic. It was
It was a
phenomenal,
dream.
pretty electric, but obviously last year, like I mentioned earlier, just really disappointing overall. I hope he can go kill it though. I think he's going to have like a fairly average season though because he is good enough to not be downright awful and get benched. But I think there are persistent struggles that we've seen, and he's older. He played a couple years at JUCO, 2 years, and you would just like to see quarterbacks with that kind of experience already have their decision making down pat.
Hmm.
So I think that's what'll hold him back from being like borderline dominant. But he has the tools to be dominant at times, just not consistently throughout the season. Carson, how do you think Joey's going to do in Tennessee?
I honestly think you hit the nail right on the head, Aaron. I'm going to go ahead and call this the Jordan Love gene. We could also call it the Brett Favre gene. At times, he looks amazing. He looks like he's got the best arm in the country. Um, he looks like he's making great decisions. He looks super accurate. He looks like he's just got this swagger about him. Like nothing can bring him down. And then, like you said, at other times he's just making boneheaded decisions, trying to play hero ball too much. Too much. Like you said, he is playing on an SEC team now, so better O line, better weapons, but also he is going to be playing much better defenses. I think that Joey Aguilar is either going to sink or he's going to swim. I think that he's either going to have a couple bad games and it's going to be a funk that he cannot get out of, or I think he's going to have a really good season. And I'm rooting for the guy because I really do like Joey Aguilar, and I hope that he does super well. I hope he has a phenomenal season. Um, my girlfriend is a Tennessee fan, so that's another reason to root for him. Um, I just can't say with full confidence that it's going to happen because he does have that bozo gene. He does have that Jordan Love, Brett Favre gene, where he just makes terrible decisions and he tries to fit balls where he cannot fit balls. And he's playing hero ball and he's just not a superhero, you know? He's not a superhero as much as I hate to admit it. So I hope he has a great year. And I'll go ahead and predict that he's going to have a good year. I'm okay with that. I will predict that Joey Aguilar is going to have a good year, and maybe he'll be even a late round draft pick. I would love to see it.
I mean, Carson, I'd love to see that too. And I was just looking at Tennessee's schedule. You want to know who they have to play week 3?
Who?
Georgia.
That,
They got
okay.
Georgia in week 3. That's going to be the test. It is at least
It
at home,
is.
so they do not have to go to Georgia for that. But that's going to be a rough one. They start out the season with Syracuse and East Tennessee State, so those will be solid warm up games. And then
Yeah.
he's getting thrown into the fire with Georgia week 3. I think that's going to be rough. And then, I mean, after that, you got UAB, and then you're just into SEC schedule. It's just going to be tough for any quarterback to do well. I think he's going
That's
to be
true.
solid. I don't know if I would say good. I feel like I'm repeating myself again. He has the tools to be very good. It's about decision making, improving, and just putting it all together. He has the potential to be a successful starting quarterback for Tennessee. I just saw enough questionable decision making from him in his 2 seasons at App State to make me hesitate on saying he'll just flat out be good. He has the potential to. I just can't say anything more than solid for now.
The last
But I
thing I
do
will
hope
say
the team
about it,
wins. I am rooting for him. I don't want this to be
absolutely.
taken as I'm trashing on the guy. He is talented.
Mhm.
I hope he kills it. I hope he's a Heisman finalist, Carson. I'm not saying he's gonna be. I would love to see it though, because in college football 26, the guy's always a Heisman finalist somehow. So maybe the game sees something that we don't.
Mhm. After watching him 2 years ago as an App State fan, it's kind of impossible not to root for him for the rest of your life. One thing I will say, this will be the last thing I say about on this topic. Tennessee has probably one of the premier environments in college football. What Joey Aguilar can do when he's rolling, it is get the crowd jumping. So they're playing Georgia at home. If he throws a touchdown on his first or his second drive and that crowd gets going, I could see them upsetting Georgia. Truly, I could see it. I hope it happens.
I mean,
Aaron,
I'd
is there
love to see
anything?
it happen too, but that's a little bit of a stretch, and I feel like we could keep that rolling. But Carson, I think we might have to call it a night unless you got anything else to say.
I do have one thing else left to say, Aaron.
Oh,
Dun 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 go ah! Dun 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 fight ah! Dun 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 go dun 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 fight dun 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 kick ass! All right. Thank you everybody for watching Hoops and Helmets. I have been Carson. That has been Aaron. And hopefully we're going to get back on a regular schedule now that college football is rolling. So until next time, guys, thank you for watching.